A very good afternoon and welcome back to the 15th edition of Poultry Knowledge Day. Indian poultry sector, we have Mr. Balram Singh Yadav, Managing Director, Godrej Agrovet, Mr. K.G. Anand and Mr. Harish Garware. Can we please have the three of you on stage? And this talk will be moderated by the Chairman of Knowledge Day, Dr. P.K. Shukla.
A very good afternoon to all of you. Indeed, it's a matter of great pleasure that in the morning we had few of the speakers as well, our Honorable Secretary presenting a view of Government of India in support of poultry industry. Now it's a turn to know about the industry and its challenges from a stalwart of our poultry industry. We are going to discuss few of the challenges and possibly their remedial measures from our experts. So I am having three experts with me, as already announced, Mr. Balram Yadav, Shri K.G. Anandji, and Mr. Harish Garware. So let me come to Mr. Balram Yadav first. What are your thoughts on role of Indian poultry sector in wealth creation, which of course has been pointed out by Secretary?
The Indian poultry industry has had a stellar performance. And I have presented a chart in several of my presentations that while other agri outputs have grown 1.3 times, 1.5 times in last 20 years, milk has doubled, eggs have tripled, and poultry has become 5 times. It has come with its own challenges, but I must compliment the industry that it has grown at breakneck speed with all the challenges and with improved efficiency, improved outputs, improved everything else except return on your investments. So I think one of the big opportunity this industry has, I must tell you that there was a RBI report from 2006 to 2010, I think, which said that maximum job creation in rural India was done by poultry. So poultry is definitely one of the big drivers of rural income, rural livelihood, as Honorable Secretary said. But I must tell you a good news that my sense is the kind of growth you have. In 7 to 8 years, poultry industry at constant prices will double from where we are now. And I was telling a friend here that I may be wrong by a year or two. How many of you will be sitting and enjoying Poultry India debates is something which you will have to decide, because extreme efficiency will be required in such a volatile atmosphere. I must tell you that agri GDP today is about, animal agriculture GDP is about 1/3 of agri GDP. It will be at least 50% of agri GDP in 7 to 8 years' time. And again, I'll be wrong by 1 or 2 years. I see a bright future. I see great opportunity. I see all of us can really tap this opportunity. I don't see any great multinationals coming and taking over this industry. It will be domestic players who will become big. The only thing which I wanted to warn is that it should not become an oligopoly. The wealth should not be concentrated in few hands. It should be evenly distributors between farmers, small players, big players, and practitioners of poultry.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. Coming to Mr. K.G. Anand, what is your outlook for poultry sector in short term, in medium term, and in long term?
Thank you. Good afternoon to you all. When we talk about the prospects short term, it's very difficult to predict. As Balram just now said, in 7 years' time it will double. That will definitely happen. But in the short term, whether the prices will go down, whether there will be price challenges, such things are difficult to predict because it is situational. Those who are in poultry industry now, they're all, I think, evolving, consolidated, and looking in terms of long term. I don't think we should look in terms of what happens for the next week, of next 6 months or anything. People who are putting investments, people who are wanting to grow, they are looking in terms of 5 years and 10 years time frame. So such fluctuations in prices, either in terms of output or in terms of input, is likely to happen. But that should not deter people, especially people who are putting huge investment in this sector and looking in terms of future, having brought in the younger generation. They should not worry in terms of short term, they should only look in terms of long term. Yes, in short term, there will be some measure taken by industry. because we have experience of the past. Whenever there was an issue which needed some correction, we all came together, did the correction. But we are in a commodity, 95% of it which is in met market. As a result, even you have 5% surplus, you have huge fluctuations in terms of prices. Similarly, if you look at in terms of creating that shortages, then you get that opportunity maybe which happened in this year for the last 4-5 months, good prices for the industry. So industry is matured, and I'm sure all the people will come together if need be. Then on a long-term basis, definitely the prospects are good for the entrepreneurs. In short term, yes, we should not worry too much on the short term, 3 months, 6 months. This is all part of our business. But be rest assured, people who have got involvement, interest to do long term, they will definitely get their due return and the growth will happen.
And this time, waste to wealth. Mr. Harish, can you elaborate how poultry waste can be converted into wealth? What is your concept of it?
Tell every farmer that if you really want to grow, and as both the speakers said, that we have tremendous scope in this industry, and if we have to grow, we have to first process our manure. Only then your business is going to become sustainable. And if your business is sustainable, you can talk about growth. What can be done is always a very simple question. What can be done? It can be processed. Which methods are there? I'll tell you which are the methods you can use it. But one thing you have to always think, that you have manure is nothing but gold. You have a source of biomass. Can you imagine you have a source of biomass which you are producing every day, and if you say that you are not able to consume it and use it and sell it, then something is wrong. Something is wrong somewhere. And I tell you, before telling you how to do it, I tell you why and where things are going wrong. The things are going wrong when a farmer comes to me and he says, "Sir, ye saal aur ek shed laga rahe hain." I always try to tell farmer that first you do that, then you can talk about expanding as much as you want. You should know that business. That is how you have to go about this business. Now, coming to the process, it is absolutely proven worldwide. I mean, it is nothing a science. There are only 3 processes which you can do to treat the manure. The first process is the drying. I mean, if you dry the manure, I mean, you stop the putrefaction or, decomposing. So once you dry it and pelletize it, that manure can be used as a fuel, or it can be added in furnace. Whoever is having furnace, it can be used as fuel. Or that particular dry manure, if it is put inside the soil, not above the soil, again keep in mind, inside the soil, about a feet below, it becomes a very good fertilizer. It will start releasing nitrogen slowly and steadily. Not unlike the fertilizer we use, you give it and it gets the dose in that particular day. But that's not what the plant needs. Plant needs a real slow release of nitrogen, which is possible, and poultry manure is very rich in nitrogen, and you can do that. But this drying process is the most expensive process. So this, we can always talk about it at a later date, but the easiest and the best process I suggest is composting. And composting can be done even without a single rupee investment in any machines. You can just store the manure in a building, protect it from the rains, and maybe after 1 month, or you can do, you have to just turn it around, you have to allow the air. It's very simple, it is aerobic process. I mean, there are bacteria are going to eat it. Once they eat everything, it is decomposed. What is decomposed? Decomposed is nothing but that biomass, somebody has to eat it. Who's going to eat it? The aerobic bacteria are going to eat it. So what you need to do it, you have to just properly turn it periodically. And to expedite this process, what you need to add is carbon, biodegradable carbon. Any leaf, anything, garden waste, tree waste, anything, or any other waste which is, vegetable waste, you add it, and that is also hardly 20% is required. Now, if you have volumes, you can always add machines. And there are various kinds of machines. You can go vertical nowadays, and in a vertical, just like at this size, you can process 10,000 kilos per day or 10 tons per day. Just a vertical composting. So there are many methods, if you put money in that, are available. So composting is one thing which all the farmers should start. And the third thing, if your manure is really wet, like you have a breeding farm, then I would suggest to go for biogas. Otherwise, there is no point in going for biogas because we always have a dry manure and there is no point in making it wet and then again producing biogas because then you have to again process the slurry. And one more thing, the experts are here, they will tell you, or you all are the expert. I always tell people, if your manure is dry, if you see as a small lump and there is white on it, you have already made money. And that is where it should start. If you get your manure which is, you are losing money. So first process is management. You have a dry manure and after that you can do composting, which is the easiest way, I think. Thank you.
Mr. Balram, what do you think? What are the challenges in the future for the poultry for a sustainable development in our country? What are the key challenges?
So I think sustainability is a word which has been used for almost all sectors now. For us, I think sustainability is also, apart from wealth from waste, is also less use of or no use of antibiotics, improved technologies to get rid of other issues, but not particularly in poultry, but in other animals also, because 300 million of cows and buffaloes are there, and about 5 to 10% would be dying every year. So I'm saying that there is a big sustainability issue as far as disposal is concerned. So I think that we have been addressing it in our own rural ways, but as Mr. Garware said, that now science and technology has to take over. Not only the future has to be sustainable, because we owe it to the planet that we leave it better than what we inherited it, but also it will help us making the business scalable. If you can get rid of 10 tons of manure, you can also get rid of 100 tons of manure. So point is, getting rid of 10 tons manure is the first step towards getting rid of 100 tons. And I must say that there is so much of discussion on future. My sense is that the future of this industry depends on productivity. I think everything and anything which we are doing will have to be relooked at and looked at from technology point of view, either indigenous or imported. And we make sure that we don't lose any money to inefficiencies, any money which can be earned through initiatives like manure sales, etc. So my sense is that influx of technology in this industry is most important, and that will help in sustainability, scalability, and consistent profitability. So we should not ignore this. Now, I would say that we have the opportunity of using some of our CSR funds, these initiatives, and which probably can be put best use to in a way that it benefits the society as well as us. So I think that there are technologies available. West is way ahead of us in all these things, and we should keep on looking at these technologies, these initiatives, and learn from them and implement it locally. One thing I must tell you is that as the consumer, the governments are becoming more and more aware of the issues, they will tighten controls on us more and more in time to come, because we are also part of the food chain and we are a risk to the population. So always remember that more and more legislations, more and more controls, more and more regulatory oversight will come on our industry and our businesses also. So better be prepared for that.
If we want to keep the pace of growth with the present context, we need to go with that. Yes, coming to Mr. Anand, earlier we discussed about the short term, medium term, and long term interventions in the poultry sector, wherein beautifully you have described the supply demand matrix also, and then volatility of the prices of poultry or poultry products. In the morning itself, Madam Secretary told about this, but what we foresee, where we need government interventions for making all these stable for a sustainable growth.
Good question. If you look at in terms of the big cost for the industry is basically the feed prices. And our production in terms of corn has been stagnant somewhere at about 31, 32 million tons, while the poultry is consuming almost about 16 to 17 million tons of corn. And the growth that is happening today, about 5 to 7%, means another 1 million tons extra is required every year.
Little close the mic. Yeah.
So from the current consumption levels, we need every year additional 1 million tons. Add to this, the starch industry is doing well, the export is doing well, and the ethanol, in terms of corn diversion to ethanol. These three are going to be the challenging, and in future, all these competing segments is going to take the prices up and up. If in case Indian poultry has to grow in leaps and bounds, and you want to tap the world export market, then you also have to have a level playing field. If you have to have a level playing field, with the corn prices currently at about 24 and likely to go up every year by about 10%, similarly soya prices currently somewhere at about 50, which is likely to go up every year, the cost of production is obviously going to be much higher compared to the other countries which are exporting like Brazil and others, Brazil, Argentina. There, corn is available somewhere at about $200 nearby. With that price, if you have to compete, you probably will produce only to domestic market, you will not be able to export it out. If government would like industry to take up, especially Madam Secretary was talking about the dollar revenue, then we have to ensure there is a level playing field, and at least for the end user, permit for importing corn and soya whenever there is an opportunity. And similarly, government should put all efforts to ensure that the availability of corn is higher. At least minimum of every year, bring in more corn under irrigated, probably allow GM. When all these factors should be considered, and we should ensure that the domestic poultry industry, domestic animal feed industry is provided with sufficient ingredients. If this happens, then our cost of production may not go up at a very high level, and probably we'll be able to compete. This is one big challenge we have to do it. Adding to what Balaram just now said, efficiency in terms of productivity also is, every year the genetic progress is so much. When I joined the industry, we were talking something like 280x, and today we're talking something about 335x in 52 weeks of lay. But there are a lot of farmers still getting something less than 300, happy with 285, 290. It's very difficult for them to face the competition at a later date. Similarly, if you look at broilers, we were looking at 1.6 body weight and about 2.4, 2.5 FCR. Now we are talking in terms of getting 2 kilo body weight at 30 to 33 days and getting an FCR of 1.35, 1.4. We cannot feel that this is not achievable, and certain section, if in case remain backward, then the efficiency will not be there, the cost of production will not come down, they will not be able to compete. So production efficiency is very critical. Add to that in terms of requirement of working capital, because there is no farmer who would be stocking his requirement in the proper price, because you are purchasing it, let's say in October, November at 24 maize. In February, I can tell you right now it's going to touch something like 27. If in case you are hand to mouth at this stage, then obviously your cost of production is going to shoot up. So having enough working capital is very important, especially for the big farmers and for the corporate. The commodity finance is available. So you should plan to have enough working capital so that you have your raw material purchase in time. Then the final thing would be in terms of value addition. Because if in case, in our own limited way, we can do some value addition, then probably we can mitigate the crisis if in case it comes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Just one more question to this. In fact, we have very categorically said that feed prices are going high because of either high rise in prices of corn or soya. And always corn remains a mystery in this country, because off and on, either in the estimate or at a consumption level. But see, we cannot think of a corresponding increase in our prices of product. So far, maize and soya prices are increased. Why our corresponding prices of poultry and poultry product are not increasing? Because you are handling one of the largest operations in this country, I would like to know about this.
If you look at over the years, poultry production has come in few concentrated pockets, while consumption is all over the country. Even today, there are some pockets which are producing, as Madam Secretary in the morning said, almost about 50, I mean, Mr. Sridhar said, almost 50% of the production comes only from 3 states. But consumption is there all over the country. It means they have to transport these eggs to far off distances. Over the last few years, the different state governments have been encouraging poultry to come up, and poultry has come up in UP, Bihar, and other states. Obviously, the eggs which are produced in South, earlier which was catering to these markets, now competing with the local production over there. As a result, this competition, maybe the traders have an upper hand, or maybe the coordination still is not to the extent of getting the prices up, but we do have this price friction. And all said and done, we are in a wet market. When you have 95% of wet market and the farmers have a problem in terms of selling the produce on a daily basis, it's very difficult to ensure a price discipline. I mean, it's very easy to say, have NECP price, declare, stick to that price, farmers should not sell. But in reality, for him to meet day-to-day needs, in terms of making payments to the suppliers, he has to sell the produce, and that's where the problem will start. The only solution, the wet market has to convert over a period of time, but that's a long process.
Yeah, I think it is happening now. It has started happening with the induction of FSSAI. So coming to Mr. Harish, indeed, nowadays everybody is concerned about environment, and everybody considers that poultry is contributing a lot of environment pollution. So what is your view on this? When we are looking in the era of urbanization, how this environmental pollution can be reduced? So far, poultry production in our country is concerned.
Urbanization is certainly a problem. And poultry, as far as I am concerned, even if you have certain processing, is or will generate some smell. So the best thing is to have poultry away from the urban areas. But now, one thing as a farmer, you have look at it, or how as an engineer we look at it. If you ask an engineer, I mean, is anything possible? He says, yes, it can be engineered. It can be done. So if you tell him that I want to move the earth, he said, give me space, give me place to stand in the space, and I will move the earth. So what you really need, you can do everything, you need space. So when it is urbanization is happening, it is, I mean, this is not happening in a day or two. It is happening over a period. You are watching, you can see, you know what's happening in your area. So you have to prepare for the new space much earlier, maybe 5 years before, 6 years before. And that is what you have to do it. And you have to shift. You have to take this as an opportunity that whatever you have done a farm which was 20 years old, 30 years old, now you have to anyway change it. And you have to adopt the right technology. So you have to timely take steps.
Yes.
And the first step I would say is buying the land, because buying a land and taking all the permission itself is 2-3 years job, which you have to do it, you have to pre-plan. For every poultry farmer, it is not like earlier days, because as Balramji said, the government is going to tighten each and every norms. So you have to have all kind of permissions. So you have to buy land, you have to get all the permissions, you have to be ready, and then you have to transform. So this is how you have to prepare, and you have to do it. And as I earlier said, you have to process your manure. You should not be at any given time nuisance to your neighbor. No business can survive or is not sustainable if you are doing something wrong and your neighbors are complaining.
Now it's a time when we should optimize our resources. In fact, there is a lot of pressure on our resources. I think we are having 5 minutes. So we'll have a quick round and just a comment from our expert panel. What is the emerging trend of consumer so far poultry and poultry product are concerned? Mr. Balram.
So I will digress. That will be the second question I will answer. The first question is, I'll be failing in my duty if I don't address all the business leaders sitting here. Madam Secretary talked about market share. I work in Godrej, which is a consumer product giant. We always talk in market share. Let me throw some math at you. According to us, at nominal prices or today's prices, animal agriculture is about 12 lakh crores. Almost 8.5, 9 lakh crore is dairy. It is growing at 4.5% per annum. At today's prices, it is going to add 50,000 crores every year for 10, 15, 20 years. Now, we can get 10,000 crores out of that or 25,000 crores out of those 50,000 crores. The consumer is not saying no. It is our ability which is the problem. So first question, other question you asked is about what government can do and what we can do. We can do a lot and we are doing a lot, but not, the focus is different, which I'll come to later. I think the regulatory environment should be proactive rather than reactive. We will have patches of undersupply and oversupply of raw material. I am saying that we had a shortage of pulses, 2 years of high prices. Our farmers made sure that we are self-sufficient. Next year, production of corn will be 38, 39 million tons, I am telling you, because farmer is making money. So you will never be importing forever. The only thing is when the price goes up, you regulate it for some time, but the farmers will make sure at that higher price they produce more. So that is one thing. Second thing is technologies are a must. Whether it is vaccine, feed, additive, equipment, etc., we will have to depend on West, their research, their development, their resources. The only thing is I am a great votary of Make in India. You allow these things, do the risk analysis fast, do all your procedures fast so that industry does not suffer because of disease incidences, etc. Get that product with a sunset clause that 5 years later you have to make it here, otherwise you are out. Immediately local partnership will emerge, local companies will also form partnership with global giants, etc. and do it here. So I think this is the regulatory, support we need is very quick introduction of new technologies and everything, and with a sunset clause that 5 years, 3 years, 7 years later, whatever the gestation period is, you know better than I do, is that you cannot import it anymore, you'll have to make it here. The third thing you asked me about consumer. Now, consumer is waiting. Consumer is waiting for what is your offering to them. Are they eating more processed chicken than they were eating last year? The answer is yes. They will continue. The poultry may grow 8%, the processing is growing 12-13%, and each time we see list of plants is going longer and longer. Even if the consumer is not consuming your chicken directly, it is consuming through quick service restaurants like McDonald's, KFC, etc. This trend will continue. Problem is to grow, you have to be profitable. You need capital to invest in technology. You cannot access public markets क्योंकि तुम्हें अपना ही पता नहीं है profit होगा कि नहीं होगा. Problem is that we are accessing the worst capital in the market for our growth, which is suppliers credit, which is the highest rate of interest we pay, 18 to 24%, when banks can give you at 8, 9%, 10%, and if you access capital markets, you can get free equity. So point is, for God's sake, do whatever you want. All of you are under this roof. Make sure that you have 7, 8 profit months and 2, 3 loss months, rather than vice versa, which is the fact here. Consumer is engaging with everything. They are engaging with direct to home. They are engaging with value added. They are engaging with processed chicken. They are engaging with out of home consumption. They are engaging with plant-based meats. They will take up whatever offering you have. The only thing is to reach them, to make it available, to make it top quality, to be globally competitive. You got to be rich first.
Thank you so much. Yes, we do agree that technology infusion is very much required. At the same time, we need to gear up our system for exploitation of the genetic potential to the maximum. Yeah, a quick question to Mr. Anand also. How to control the fluctuating prices?
So fluctuating prices can be controlled only if in case the producers get involved more and more into marketing. Yes, there is a wet market, but I feel that the farmers feel their job is only to produce and hope that they get the right prices. That doesn't happen. You look at any other industry, the producer get involved into marketing. That's where you have to get that 1 rupee or 1% more. So I think especially if I look at the layer segment where the egg prices fluctuate a lot, because in broilers, at least there's some amount of consolidation, some big players are there, and the big players are coming together, and at times they are meeting and then getting the prices up. In layers, probably that is not happening, and if in case farmers get involved more and more, and they have the coordination among the producing zones, I'm sure it should be possible. I expect the coming 3-4 months should do well, and if in case we get the baseline up, the main problem is that the consumer has no problem in consuming eggs at any rate. You say 7 rupees, 8 rupees, 10 rupees, is happy to eat it. But the in-between the channel is the one which is blocking basically on the sentiment part of it. That we have to take it out. If we can get the prices up and let's say in the winter months is something like 7 rupees or 8 rupees, automatically the summer prices will maintain somewhere at 450 fare. So that's where we have to try and to see that on average for the year, he gets something like 550 for him to be viable.
Thank you so much. A quick comment from Mr. Harish. Indeed, we believe in mechanization to improve the efficiency of production, but it is capital intensive, and people often faces a problem as it is capital intensive. How to solve with this problem?
See, I look at it in a very different angle. At the moment, if I look at the broiler farming, I can tell you neither the broiler farmer is happy or neither the integrator is happy. Now, there is no business where both are not happy. It cannot happen, because there is always a business where one is not happy, the other is happy, because somebody has to lose, somebody has to make money. If there is a business where both are losing, which means somebody else is making money. And people have been talking about somebody else is a trader. No. Market, no. That is what he has been talking, or both have been talking about, is efficiency. Today, in India, we are considering 8 to 9%, 10% as a normal mortality. We show that our FCRs are 1.3, 1.4, 1.6. But if you take overall mortality is very high. That mortality means what? You are talking about 8, 10% of your turnover. Now that is where the money is going. Where is not the money? So if you talk about that money, capital is nothing. That all you can repay, I can give you a farm which can repay in 3 years or 4 years. Now if anything can be paid back in 3, 4 years, why not? And I think people have started realizing that. And in a broiler business, which is the 90% of our business, broiler is almost 90% of our business, and where we are every day losing money. And people has to only understand one thing, what a broiler farmer is doing, a contract farmer. He is custodian of your bird, that is right, and he is looking after your bird is right, but what he has to do is, there is a broiler growing is nothing, but it is an exothermic and an endothermic process. You need to give heat and you have to take out heat. These are the only two things. The rest, these people are there, they know genetically what to do, what kind of vaccine, what kind of medicine, what kind of feed. That is their job. The farmer has to only provide the required environment. That's all his job is, and to feed them timely. And if he is able to do it, for everybody it is a win-win situation. Today, I can tell you, I have seen worldwide, 40 rupees, 50 rupees is per kg the farmer is making. And the contract farmer, they are able to pay also. In India today, we have come up to, I don't know how much, but maybe at least we are paying 15 rupees, or it is going, or 20 rupees per bird or more, the farmer is getting. And I tell you one thing, one more very important thing. I am doing one experimental farm. Now in broiler farming, the only input cost, what is the input cost in broiler farming? One is power, and second is rice husk. These two, and his labor. If you remove these two costs, power and rice husk, the only cost remains is labor. And I am doing a farm which will have no power, zero power requirement, and no rice husk or no bedding requirement. And one person can look after 25,000-30,000 birds. So you talk about a good farm, you talk about sustainability, and this is where the money lies, and this is where the future lies.
Thank you so much. Definitely, it is a good concept to have a net zero building. If we'll have that, I think it's a commendable job. Commendable job in terms of poultry production and its efficiency. Thank you very much. It was very wonderful talking to you. What we can conclude, we do have a lot more challenges nowadays. So far, poultry production is concerned, its management is concerned, its efficiency is concerned, and taking into consideration the marketing challenges, and also realizing the prices in terms of profitability. All these challenges we need to see. But since last 4 decades, I have observed this wonderful bird, which often has a setback, but bounce back with double strength. So hats off to the poultry industry. and the caretakers, those who are taking care of this industry. Thank you, Mr. Balram, Mr. K.G. Anand, Mr. Harish Garware to be with us in discussing this important panel discussion. Thank you so much. Looking forward for a great collaboration of industry with the government and having a very congenial, as already Mr. Harish said, for growth and for optimum performance, a congenial environment is very important. And this is what we are looking for while having a collaboration of industry with the government. Always congenial environment in terms of making and framing the policies, always customizing it according to the requirement of our industry. I think we have a long way to go. Thank you very much for being with us. Yeah, you want to have a quick comment?
Last joke.
Yeah.
I think we talk about industry-government collaboration. I think time has come for industry-industry collaboration also. Let us talk to each other more.
Yeah, thank you so much.
A round of applause, everyone. What an interesting discussion that was. Thank you so much for engaging the audience in such an insightful conversation. A round of applause for our experts and our moderator.